welcome. You have found your way to the Success Series webinar brought to you by State Civil Service. Oh, today we're going to be talking about speaking power. And that is an exciting topic for us to be able to start with today because, well, honestly, you think about it. We have all these opportunities to be able to share information with people. And we can make a big difference or we can make no impact at all. And speaking power today is talking about some of the ways that we can grab people in our conversations, whether it's one person or 100 that we're talking to, it doesn't matter. It's trying to find ways that we pull people in and get them to understand what we're talking about, what we get our ideas across to them about. That's what we're working on today. In order to do that, we have this crew of folks. And oh man, you just can't beat the TD crew. I love this. Okay, first of all, that's let's see, that's left. Where am I on the left there, y'all? Okay, so that's me on the left. I'm Christy Atwood. I'll be your host for today. Next to me.
Hi, Kalisha Cooper, obviously on the town development team as a program manager, working closely with our supervisors out in the state.
Woohoo!
It's great to be here.
Good to have you here.
Hi, I'm Nathan Barnaba. I'm a course developer on the tech side of things.
And does some beautiful work. I'm so glad you're part of the team. Next.
Hi, I'm Amy Ard, and I'm also on the web development side, though not for long. This will be my last time on this webinar. Yes.
We love you. We love you.
Yeah.
Okay. But we're going to get some good information out of you today. Sure. We're not letting you leave without sharing some good stuff. And last but so not least.
Hi, my name is Kimberly Broussard, and I am on the talent development side. I'm a facilitator for talent development.
And do a great job of it.
Thank you.
All right. Okay, so today we're all going to be sharing some information. We have a whole lot of information that we've gathered through our own experience, but also we have some nice information that has been gathered from different places like the TED Talk coaches and some things like that. We have some different areas that we've gotten information from, and we think we're going to be able to really give you some good stuff that'll help you. Are y'all ready to get started with this stuff?
Sure.
All right. Okay. Let's get this thing going here. All right. The number one.
So I'm going to start off the webinar, and I'm going to bust some bubbles.
Uh-oh.
For all those facilitators and trainers out there, know that not everyone who attends your webinar has chosen to be there. Some people are voluntold. I know. Just busting some bubbles.
You mean we have hostages in the room sometimes?
Occasionally, they're in there. And you may know who they are. But it's definitely up to you to gain buy-in for your participants. So give them the why. Help them to understand why the information is not just important to you, but how it can also be beneficial and helpful to them and in the work that they're doing every day.
I love that because we can't expect them to get excited just because they've been told to be there.
Exactly.
So we have to sell them on our topics.
Yep. And especially those who are very verbal about being voluntold to be there. You know, those are going to be your challenges, but I mean, you have good information. So definitely give them the why so that they feel invested too.
So what's in it for them?
Exactly.
I love it. You started us off quite well, Felicia. Thank you very much. Well, how about we go to Kim? You do the next one for us.
Well, it's important that you memorize the beginning and the end. How you introduce or begin your training is going to help you or get them engaged into the training and set the tone for the rest of the training. So, you know, they're not going to remember if you occasionally look at your notes, but they will remember that introduction. And so it's really important that you have a very strong introduction, that you practice your introduction, talk about a little bit about yourself and your credentials, and talk a little bit about what they're going to learn today. And they'll also remember with your closing. And so in the closing, what I like to do is I like to reiterate the key points of the training so that it sticks in their mind and that they have something to take away.
That's excellent. Yeah, and you can't give great impact, like in your beginning of your talk if you're sitting there reading it.
Mm-hmm.
Well, isn't that a terrible feeling when you're in something and you're going to be in there for a long time and you see the person get up there and they start reading straight from the paper and you're like, oh, this is going to be a long day.
Definitely.
Yeah. So learning that beginning and that ending, then you can use all of you to get the message across. Your face, your gestures, everything. And I think that brings a lot to a talk. Well, we got this third one. Amy, can you help us with this one?
Yes. So using your movement wisely, I cannot express how important this is. When you just stand, it's very stagnant. You don't bring any interest to your audience, so it's easy for them to become distracted. At the same time, moving too much can also become a distraction. So every movement should be one that is thought out and flows with the message you're trying to convey. One thing I learned when I first came on and was put into the classroom is that I have what they call T-Rex arms. And so, so I kept my elbows tucked in real close to me, and I guess that's a protective thing. And then I wound up just moving my hands a lot like a little toy. And
we're all practicing it right now.
Yeah,
we can't help it. Okay, yeah.
It was quite distracting. And so it was something I really had to work on, making every move meaningful.
Mm-hmm.
And I think you have a great point as to a way that you can practice.
Oh, yes, that's actually from a TED Talk coach. They said, when you're practicing your speech, okay, put newspaper on the floor. That way you actually notice every time you move or you shift, because some of us we will shift or sway a little, and you'll start noticing those kinds of things, and it'll make your moves more purposeful. Oh, that was a cool idea.
That is me. I have not tried it, but I think I might go home. I'll go home and try that.
Good. We don't want to sit here and watch you on the newspapers there, but yeah, I just thought that was a really cool idea. So yeah. Excellent. Well, good points. And yes, it's really important when we do our movements. We want them to add to the conversation, to add to the impact, not be like at odds with it. You know those times when you're saying the right things, but your emotions are saying something totally different. So that's an excellent one to keep in mind. Oh boy, number 4. Kim, you wanted to talk about this one, didn't you?
Yes, I did. Strong or good speakers, they always have cutting edge facts or the latest info just to make or relay a strong message across to their audience. So, for example, if you're teaching a customer service course, what you want to do is you want to find a company that has great customer service skills, find out why their particular company has such great customer service skills so that you could relay that back to your audience.
Oh, excellent point. So actually being in the current time in everything that you're talking about, bring up those sorts of things so that you show that you're always learning, because that's what a thought leader does. I like that idea a lot. I think that something that we need to keep in mind as we're trying to make sure that we're getting information across to people is if you can package things a certain way, they come across more as you're a leader, you're not a follower. You create your own little acronym, that whole thing, that set thing that I do in some of my classes where it's the short answer, the evidence, and the transition. Mm-hmm. I created letters because I knew that's the kind of thing people keep in their minds. So if you create something like that, it becomes something in itself, and it sets you apart as a leader because you coined this phrase, you coined this idea. So we can constantly set ourselves up as thought leaders, and that also raises our worth in the workplace and outside of it.
Definitely.
Good stuff. Okay. Ooh, use the pause.
So I've been told that I'm pretty skilled at the pause. I'm using air quotes, but you can't see me.
Yeah. And Kalisha uses the pause when she just looks at us sometimes. It's a very different kind of pause that we don't like as much, but that's different.
It's true. It's true. Yeah. So the pause I'm talking about here, so I use it typically in the classroom after I ask the participants a thought-provoking question. So if I think about Kim's great point about being a thought leader, and I ask the participants, what are some great resources that you can use to help you to get ahead in your industry? I'll pause. I'll walk over to my water, take a sip. I'll look around the room, smile at everyone, and eventually it gets awkward enough for someone that they answer the question. It's awkward and it works.
Wow.
The pause.
We are in awe of the pause and Felicia's use of it. That's amazing. I do the mental count to 10 thing, but it never works well because I get to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I haven't got that kind of patience. Another cool time to use pause is when you walk up to a podium. For a lot of us, we get nervous as we walk up to the podium and we'll say things or we'll say, I saw a speaker this past week who did that. And I realized it really does. It makes you think, oh, they're not professional.
Well, they're nervous.
Yeah, Instead, and I spent a lot of money on a membership in the National Speakers Association to get this piece of advice. When you get up to the podium, you stop. You do not say a word. You stand there for 3 whole seconds.
Command
so
the
long.
audience.
You smile and you look around at your audience and you just kind of, hi, I'm here. Christy has arrived in the house.
Yes.
You know, and that is your moment. And that, it really does make a difference. So, one to keep in mind for the using the pause. Okay? Let's see here. Number 6. Oh, Amy, what do you think about this one? This one's got a lot of back and forth that we talked. You didn't know you had this one?
I did.
Sure. That look on your face. Okay. This is one, though, that a lot of people disagree with, and it depends, I guess, on your subject. Because sometimes we'll say things like, hold your questions till the end, please.
Yeah.
Because you don't want to get off track, you don't want to get lost, that sort of thing. But one of the things that some of the speaker coaches say is think about answering questions during the presentation. What do you think?
I think it's really important because if you wait all the way until the end, you've probably missed a important opportunity that you had to clarify something that you've said way in the beginning. And if one person has that question, multiple others may have the question, and you've missed a major learning opportunity. Also, part of allowing them to ask questions is bringing them in and letting them feel like they are actually part of the teaching moment too. So that opening up for that discussion piece and making it really a team effort. It's not just you telling them. It is a group discussing this information. And while you may be the expert, they have expertise to bring as well. So if you let people ask those questions, you can answer those questions. Other people might be able to help you answer those questions. And it really opens the floor for a very engaging audience. And I think it kind of helps with the awkwardness as well. The more you allow them to speak, the more comfortable they are speaking when you do want them to.
Good point. You're setting the example at that point. I like that. That's a really good point. And that is really a good point that if they had that question at the beginning, they could miss out on all the other important stuff because they didn't get that point.
They already didn't put those pieces together, and so they've been lost from the beginning, and they just stay lost until you finally get there, if you get there at all with them.
Wow, that's a really good point. And one of the other points about that is, of course, the fact that you don't always know that everybody's engaged. We know that now. I think one of the surveys I read said that, like, at any given time, only about 10% of the people in the room are actively listening.
That's encouraging.
Yeah, I know. I remind myself of that quite frequently as I'm sitting up in the front of the class going, gup, 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 gup. But if you throw in free donuts every so often, they listen again. Yeah, so if you have somebody who is interested enough and engaged enough to ask a question at that point, you don't want to send them off. You want to pull them in as much as you can, so why not go ahead? And I know a lot of people are nervous about that because they think they'll lose their place, but if we have just at least some little bullet points in front of us, we'll be able to find our way back. So I do think that's a really good possibility, and I think it's one that I need to work on because sometimes I get going and I don't let anybody say. All right. Number 7. Nate, help us on this one.
This is actually one of my favorite practices. It's always a good idea to mentally prepare yourself before you speak or any type of presentation. What I do is maybe a mantra, meditation. It all depends because it kind of sets the energy and calms you down. And it powers me through the pre-jitters that I have before speaking.
That's cool. So it's like your own little system that you have that says, okay, I'm about to speak. Here, let me get into the zone.
Yes.
That's very cool. I think we really do. You need something like that, even if it's just a very small thing, And I know some people who say that they get nervous, like if they're at a head table for a speech. And they'll do stuff like their pre-routine is actually grabbing the sides of their chairs and pull up and tensing all their muscles and then letting loose. And it just, okay, that's what it feels like, And it's a cool little thing, but anything like that we can do to prepare us and get us into that zone, I think helps a lot. Thank you, Nate. Excellent. Oh, number 8, share the stage. All right, Annie, are we talking about getting cattle up on the stage with us?
No. This really, you can pull that whole letting them ask questions and stuff into this. But for me, sharing the stage is, again, it's about bringing in that discussion piece, that inclusion. But what sets it apart is you're showing that you respect and value their knowledge and experiences as well. I mean, you're working, especially if you're working with adults, that's one of those adult learning principles. I mean, they want to know that their experience is valued, that they bring something to the table, that they can self-start, and that you respect it. So sharing that stage, it's not all about you. In fact, it's really not about you at all. You're just the focus for that avenue for learning, but it's about the participant. So why not allow them to take part in that? So for me, I mean, that's where I go with that. Anybody else agree, disagree?
I agree.
Yeah.
What do y'all think? Any other thoughts about that? How do y'all get people involved?
I think asking them their experiences is spot on. I mean, people want to share.
Yeah.
They want to talk. They want to give their input, and giving them the opportunity to do that, you get to see what they know, and you can fill in the gaps so the things that they don't know.
Not everyone wants to share sometimes. So sometimes you have introverts. And so what I find is if I have a class full of introverts, I'll break them up into groups and I'll walk around because they're more inclined to speak into those small groups than they are to the entire class. So if I'll walk around and listen, and then if I hear something that I think everyone needs to know, I'll be like, hey, I heard something really interesting, and I'll share their ideas for them.
That's cool.
Yeah.
And that can work in keynotes too. When you're doing a large hall, you just let them share with their neighbors on each side. And then if somebody has something really good, chances are one of those 3 people will be able to share it with us, And it's just a great way. For a lot of our personality types, if you go too long without letting us talk, you have lost us.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Especially this room, huh? Are y'all all that way? I think we are all probably that way. You cannot go too long without letting us say something. So I tell people nowadays, even people that I'm coaching on how to do keynotes and all, there's no such thing as just lecturing to people anymore. We are too much of a society that needs that interaction, that's used to having input and everything. So I say even keynotes nowadays should be interactive. We need to find ways to draw our audiences in, let them be part of the discovery process, let them tell their stories, because like y'all were saying, adult learning principles tells us everybody brings something to that room.
Yeah.
Everybody's got some experience, and those can be the most powerful ones that you'll end up using again in another session.
And it's also going to not just help you move the training or the presentation along, whatever it is, the conversation, but it's going to help make that lasting impact for them. They are going to remember that they played a vital role in getting that message out there.
I love that. Yes. Because it's not that I went to a speech. It was, hey, I was part of this presentation the other day.
Absolutely. I was part of making that difference.
I like that.
Initiative, yeah.
And if it's a group of people where they all know each other, well, now they can network and they know who has what strengths and who they can follow up and ask questions on certain topics, because they know people's experiences now.
Right.
That's an excellent point. Yes. And that kind of builds on the fact that, any presentation we give is a chance for them to network too. And they need to get to meet other people in that room, or that kind of has been wasted time. That's why I always tell people, sit by a stranger. Of course, people prefer me not to sit by them, but that's a whole different thing. Okay, once again, I want to apologize to the people in the elevator this morning that I did the commercial on the webinar too. But really, you are supposed to find opportunities to connect with people, and we should be giving that to them even in our presentations. Okay. Practice using 3-part lists. I'll talk about this one. Yes. Okay. So research has shown we remember things in chunks of like 3 or 4. You see every good joke, it seems like, is a 3-part thing, So it's one of those natural things for us to remember. So why not use it more in our presentations? That's why when I talk about, people creating their classes and stuff even, or their speeches, you have a point, you got at least 3 points to follow it up with, saying, here's why it's true, before you move on to something else. Do y'all find yourselves automatically going to the 3s often?
Absolutely.
Absolutely. And if you think about just your everyday interactions or whatnot, a phone number, 985, it's 33, then the remaining 4. It
Right.
creates a rhythm in which you remember your social security number, 323, right? So, or 324.
Right.
So it's part about creating a beat. So when you deliver something in that 3-part, 2-part message, it creates a mental beat for them to help remember and move forward. We do it with our children when we're teaching them something. You know, it's a natural thing, and I think it really helps to help that message stay.
Are any of you familiar with the I do, we do, you do method?
Yes.
Oh, isn't that the one they talk about with doctors? Or they talk?
Yeah, so you introduce something new to someone, and that's the I do. And then the we do, you work on it together. And then the you do is you give them opportunity to actually apply the skills and knowledge themselves. So it's that 3-part method. They see things, especially if it's new for them, 3 different times, so they can go back and remember it each time.
Cool.
That's
right. So this happens a lot of times. This is a pattern for us in a lot of our learning methods.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think that's a great way to be able to continue to get things into people's heads in a list that is not so overpowering, you know. Because it's always great when we say, you know, here's 10 steps to such and such. I'm not going to remember all 10 of those. Right. But if you say, here's 3 ways to do such and such, chances are I might remember that.
Right.
Okay. All right. See what I told y'all? Audience, this is a good group. All right. All right, the next ones. Let's see here. Oh, okay, number 10. Create an inside joke, Alicia.
So whether you're poking fun at yourself for something that you did in a class, or maybe something funny that your participants have said in the middle of class, an inside joke really is an organic way to create community amongst the facilitator and the participants and other participants, between participants and participants in the classroom. And so I remember in many of my classes, there's different types of participants, but you have your class clowns or your jokesters who always like to tell some type of joke. But in some of my classes, I also have people who like to talk a whole lot, whether it's asking questions or comments or sharing stories or something like that. And so whenever I ask one of those thought-provoking questions and I'm waiting for a very long, awkward pause, I can always count on that one person to speak up. But it's not just me. Everyone else in the classroom also waits for them. And so if they don't say something, it's always like, wait, Michael, you don't have anything to say? We were waiting for you to say. So now we all have something that we can all laugh about, and it's all in light humor. But it's definitely something that's like we can take away from the class and remember and laugh about it later.
That's fun. It's fun just things that have happened at the beginning of the class. It's having those to be able to call back on. In comedy we always call it a callback. But to be able to do that, where if somebody came in late, they wouldn't know what was going on. And the rest of the people, all of a sudden, they feel like, I'm in on this. I know it's happening, So that's kind of fun, Even phrases that you use, or like you said, certain people are really good about that because they like being the cut up. Okay, great. Build on that if you need to.
Yep.
Something like that can help a group bond in a sort of a different way than they normally would in just a speech.
Well, I've actually experienced something in one of my presentations where I was actually talking about catching the details, and I had a misspelling on that particular slide. And so it was one of those like, oh man, you really messed that up. But instead of because the participant pointed it out to me, so sorry, boss. Participant pointed it out to me. It was like, yes. And that is exactly why I left this up here, so you could see that as an example. Don't follow my lead. And everybody laughed about it, and then when we moved forward, we'd bring it back up, kind of like that other slide where I really messed it up.
Yeah.
Let's not do that. So yeah, it created this inside joke, and everybody loosened up, and it wasn't, I'm sure somebody was like, oh, really, you're teaching me? But in reality, the great majority, they appreciate seeing that you two are human.
Oh, yeah.
Yes. Mm-hmm. Yes.
I am infamous for forgetting to cut my clicker on. And so I'll be ready to start the presentation. And clicker, I'm like, it helps to cut the clicker on. First lesson for today. And we all get a good laugh, but every once in a while I have somebody remind me, is your clicker on? Thank you. We can laugh about it and then move on.
I love it. I do the same thing with leaving my clicker places. I finally started appointing somebody in the audience, please watch where my clicker is and tell me when I leave it somewhere. Oh man, I am getting old. Okay. Okay. Oh, we got another. Just a second. I got a couple of questions here. I'd like us to talk about a little bit here. When taking questions, what's the best way to respond when you don't know the answer? This is a good one. Thank you, Anthony.
Oh, that's a good one.
Uh-huh.
So, okay, yeah, I do a couple of things. The first thing that I do is if I don't know the answer, I'll say, anybody wants to answer that question? Anyone's ever
Mhm.
experienced that before? If not, said, okay, I'm not quite sure, but I'll make sure I know, I'll figure out the answer and I'll write it down. Or Kalisha is my little lifeline. Whenever there's a question, particularly with supervisors,
Mhm.
I go ahead and write down the question and I put them on a little short break and she flies down with her bat cake and she
So
comes
have your
in.
lifeline.
I
ready.
have my lifelines ready. And so sometimes if I can't, if someone's unavailable, I make sure I write down that question and let the participant know I'll have this answer for you before the end of the day. I'll find a person who can answer it and I'll email them.
Yeah, there's nothing wrong with saying I do not know the answer.
Right.
Again, we're human.
Correct.
I think that it would be more frustrating for you to pretend like you did know and give them these wrong or inaccurate information, which then they're paying for. So if I don't know the answer to a question, I will say just that. I don't really know. But I would be more than happy to either find out for you or I will find the person that does know and connect you with them. Now I've helped them network. Now they have a new lifeline that they can contact for those types of things. And I learned something as well.
Yep.
But the key is to follow through. If you tell them you don't know, but you will look into it, you better look into it.
That's right.
Because they're
Follow
counting
through.
on you.
That's
Yes,
right.
follow through with it.
That's true.
Yeah. And I do. I think that's a really important one for us to keep in mind is that sometimes the people in the audience actually know something more about something that we don't have to always be the experts. Just because we're at the front of the room doesn't mean we have all the knowledge in the world. So be willing to call on that adult learning principle of other people having good experiences.
You know what I've started to do in the case that I maybe haven't experienced the exact situation that someone may be asking me about? I try to ask more questions now because my initial thought is to try to answer right away. But I've started trying to ask more questions like, can you give me an example of what you mean? Or, well, when did this happen? To try to get more information. And then maybe something sparks where I've had a similar situation. It may not be exactly like the ones that they're talking about or someone else maybe has. But to get them kind of talking more about it or to give you a little bit more background of why they're asking that question, sometimes it helps to kind of give me some time to think and then to actually process what it is they're actually asking me.
That's cool. Good. Very good idea. Let's see here. The other thing was explain more about three-part lists. Okay. So basically what we're talking about with the three-part list is we were saying if you have a whole bunch of things, don't throw everything at somebody. Instead, break it down into three. So, it might be a couple of different lists that you end up with, or maybe it's just narrowing it down to three things that are important. But basically what we're saying is that people can't remember huge, long lists of things, and the repetition of three items in a row somehow stays with us better. I came, I saw, I conquered. Hear no evil, speak no evil, see no evil. Those, for some reason, those three things stay with us better. So just using that same sort of rhythm and that same sort of concept in your speeches makes you cognizant of ways to take it and put it where people will try to soak that up better.
Yeah, and if you do have where it's a lot of information, we get it, you have things that you need to get out there, but you can break the major parts into three and then run the subcategories underneath there to kind of help, the past, the present, the future, and then go into that. So you can still get that information across, but you've given them the top three focal points for which all that information belongs. So I think, it's really about giving them those three key pieces, and even if there are other pieces of the puzzle mixed in there, they have the three that they can refer back to make sure that like a major part is in there. It's memory.
Excellent. All right, how about number 11? Oh, Nathan. Okay. Breathe in, not out. Speak to us, oh wise one.
This one here allows you to be more stable of your breath and mindful. Sometimes when speaking, we can kind of rush what we're saying. So instead of breathing like out, we could breathe in. And as a former Toastmasters participant, this was actually something that we took advantage of because it would help remove filler words and we would actually think about what we were saying before we said it.
Oh, that's brilliant.
Instead of saying it actually helped us not to say those words.
So instead of, you're, and it's just a breath.
Yeah, and you keep in control of everything.
What happens when you just quit breathing altogether? Not like tapping out. I'm just saying, like, some people, when you get nervous, you just hold your breath. I happen to have that problem. I hold my breath. So it's really a matter, now I feel like I'm just oversharing. It's a matter of forgetting to breathe. So,
You don't care, you're leaving.
that's right. So I'll say something and then I'll just pause, just hold my breath until I'm forcing myself to do it again. And then it seems awkward. Then it's just like, oh, and you come back and, yeah.
That actually kind of goes with our next question that we had from our audience. Somebody saying, what should you do if you freeze during your presentation?
That's basically what it is.
So, thank you, Amanda. Somehow you made sense out of what Amy was trying to say. Okay. So really, what do we do in those situations? What do you do? You just kind of go, and we all do it sooner or later.
I've done it.
Mentally, you just take a little vacation. I did it this morning talking to somebody. I was in their notes. I was like, where was I? Who am I? I just went away and I'm now on a beach somewhere. So what do y'all do? How do you get back from that when you freeze or when you lose your train of thought?
I tend to be kind of expressive when that happens, and so I tell the audience or whoever it is I'm talking to, I've just lost my train of thought. I need a second to regroup, and then I'll just move on to the next thing. Maybe it'll come back, maybe it won't, but I have to let them know what's happened, so what they just experienced, so that they understand that I've lost something. It may come back, and I need to kind of pick back up and go where I'm trying to go.
But that's cool because it's not the end of the world.
Right.
I think that's really important. But we have to accept the fact, once again, as we said, we are human. And even though we're embarrassed to admit that fact.
Well, I think the key piece to what Kalisha does is transparency.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, when you're open and honest like that, I love that.
I mean, when you freeze, it's okay to say, oh, so sorry, I just forgot, I froze. I just need to get my thoughts back together. It happens to everybody at some point. So them seeing that you are human, you don't have to be perfect. Right. And, I was talking to one of our other trainers about speakers and whatnot, and she had mentioned something about Winston Churchill. He actually wrote mistakes into his speeches. I don't know if you knew that. He specifically wrote mistakes into his speeches. He knew he was going to make a mistake, and he intended to. And the reason is because people respond to people like them. And everybody makes mistakes. And so adding that human piece to it helped to gain their attention and their trust. And, so there's nothing wrong with freezing. It's just, I think the transparency helps in the recovery of it because they want you to succeed too.
That is perfect. That is so true. So for all those people that have heard me make mistakes in all my many, many talks, I wrote those in.
That's right.
That was planned. That was absolutely planned. Okay, I feel much better now. Okay, that's not transparency. That's called lying. Okay. Sorry. All right, and we come to number 12. Try once upon a time storytelling. Oh, Kimberly, what?
It's important for you guys to share your personal stories because it drives the message home. It gives them an example of and a visual picture of your story. I always, when I think about that, a visual picture, I always think of Sophia from the Golden Girls when she always starts her story with pictures. Sicily. 1925. And you start picturing her story, her entire story goes through your mind. So it helps them with that mental picture and it helps them, connect those pieces and understand your message.
And there's nothing better than a personal way to be able to connect that So
Correct.
they know that this is really an important topic to you. Here's why. I have a story about it. And one of the things, Kalisha and I were talking, you watched the video, huh? Oh my goodness. 2018 Golden Globe Awards, and it was Oprah Winfrey's speech. And it's just, okay, well, yeah, because she uses, it's that format that we all grew up with. Once upon a time, there was a little princess. But what does she say?
So she talks about how it was 1964 or something like that, and she was sitting in front of a TV on the linoleum floor, and in my mind, I can picture exactly what she's telling me.
Yes.
It's like she's taking me back to that one spot when she was a little girl and what she was watching, what she was seeing. And in my mind, I'm picturing seeing it too, and how powerful that was for her in that moment. And for me, I mean, I had goosebumps just listening to it, but picturing it myself.
I love that because it draws you in, and you've got to hear the happily ever after. Right. You got to hear so it really pulls you in.
It did.
Did you have something to add?
Oh, no,
I was trying to use, the body language thing.
She was breathing out.
Oh, excuse me, I'm sorry.
Well, no, I can speak since she called me out. I agree. Yes, drawing the picture for them helps to make the connections. It brings something meaningful to the table. It's not just information. You're not just pushing this out. If you can make the connection to some way that it's meaningful for you, you can make the connection to some way that it's going to be meaningful for them. They'll start drawing in their own stories to the same thing you said. Oh, you know what? Something similar happened to me.
Right.
Now, your story became their story or a version of their story. So I think that storytelling, it's a huge part, and it takes practice.
Yes,
it takes practice to be able to share your stories, because there are pieces of your stories that you should share, and then there are pieces that you should leave out, right? It does. It takes practice to figure out what they actually need to hear of that story to make that connection, and what you need to remove because it becomes a distraction.
Right.
Yes. We want you to get from A to B without going to Z. We need that. We need a little bit shorter version of it usually. But yeah, you're right. We need to practice those a lot before we try them. They can be so strong. I just love it. There's some people that just draw me in when they start talking, and it's just not fair. I can't leave once they get started because it's like, oh God, this is going to be good. I can tell.
And Amy, I agree. It does take practice. I think it takes practice with all of these because I'm still trying to perfect the pause.
Oh yeah.
The pause skills.
Just think about my storytelling. I'm not that good.
There we go. So find your strengths, build on those, but then practice your weaknesses.
That's right.
So Kim, you and your storytelling, and Kalisha, that scary pause, all those things.
We can work together.
I like it.
Hey, find mentors. What a great way to practice your speaking skills too. If you got somebody that you think, oh, that person's really good, I want to do like that, tell them.
That's right.
Talk about the ultimate compliment to them and an opportunity for you to learn. So I just, and as many TED Talks as you can possibly watch. Oh man, we got
those
opportunities.
Awesome.
Yes. I know we got a whole bunch of us that are like Brene Brown fans.
Oh yeah.
And a lot of us that just really enjoy Malcolm Gladwell, and a couple of ones that just, Daniel Pink, they do good storytelling too. So things.
Or even professional programs. We have some Toastmasters in the room.
I know. Nate's our professional here. So, but see, Nate talks in quality as opposed to quantity.
Yep.
Right.
Like the rest. Yep.
Right.
Yeah. I was going to say that. Okay. All right. I did. Now these are our main ones. Okay, I want to tell you too that the handout has these, but it also has some other ones. And thanks to our wonderful IT department, it's already online on our page. So you go to our page and you'll be able to pull out the handout that has all of this information and a whole lot more too. I wanted to show you some cool stuff because I was amazed by some of the things that they have. They have these apps that are really amazing that help you work with your volume, your pace, those filler words, the ums and things like that. In fact, there's a couple of them which I disagreed with one. It told me I had a monotone. How the heck did it think that? So you don't want that.
You don't want that.
Everybody would say no that she does. But basically you record into it, and it starts telling you what you do well. It gives you scores. It tells you if your pacing's fast or slow. Is that amazing?
That's neat.
And you're just using your little phone, talking into it, and it's
Very
going to tell
cool.
you stuff. So it's a wonderful kind of thing. There's a number of these. So I'm not going to mention one specific one because by tomorrow it'll be gone. So, but these are some ideas here. There's also, okay, I have to tell you what a geek I am. Found some of the virtual reality apps for this.
So
And apparently, the virtual reality headsets are not as popular. I saw they had on sale at Walmart the other day, a wall full of them for $2 each. I'm like, I'm going to buy all of them. I can't resist a deal. But basically, you're sitting there with the thing on, and it's checking all of these things as you're doing your speech. So basically, you pick your audience size. So it could be an interview, it could be a small group, a large group, whatever you want. And you sit there and you do your speech. It has the little timer as you see up there. The people, you look at them, make sure you make eye contact with them because it's counting all those things. When you get through, it's going to tell you how well you did with certain things. It'll tell you whether your volume was good, whether your eye contact was good, those sorts of things. And it's really fascinating. And then at the end, it'll give you scores like this. So it'll say, oh, look, you had eye contact more on some people than others. You had some hesitation words. Boy, we did have a blast with me.
That's awesome.
Yeah. And some of these are like, free apps, and you just sit there and you talk to your little headset.
I'm going to have to borrow your $2.
You are more than welcome to. I'll rent it to you for $2.
you got to return that.
I'm really good, aren't I? So all of these there's so many tools out there that can help us as we continue to develop our public speaking skills. And some of the things that I've noticed is there are certain speakers that just by their word choice, they make you feel hopeful. They make you feel like, yes, the world's a good place. And it's the difference between saying what they can't do and saying what they can. It's the difference between saying, what's right instead of what's wrong. And that's something that I think we can work on in our daily speech just everywhere we go. Starting to notice how many times we automatically go to the negative words. And I think if we're talking about power speaking, we should start being aware, the automatic, oh God, with this weather, we're automatically going to complain about the weather. Instead, maybe we should be finding something to talk good about.
Sorry, guys.
I think we all do it from time to time.
Right.
We go through those cycles, but if we're aware of it, we can become more positive.
Definitely.
I'm telling myself right now to stop talking about Baton Rouge traffic.
Okay, there you go. See, there you go. And instead, do like I do when you're in a traffic jam. Wave at everybody. Pretend that you're in a parade. People hate me. Those are the kinds of things you do. I gotta get a hobby, don't I? So I want your thoughts like that. What are some of the things that you can think of that you would like to share with people, that other ideas of ways to take their speech from just regular everyday talk to one of those people that when they speak, we listen?
I think one of the things that I learned from another really great speaker is just living my topic. It's not enough to just read over what your notes are, but I have to get so invested in what I'm going to teach. Even if I have to learn about topics that I know I'm not planning on talking about, but maybe during one of the breaks, I want to bring up something cool and share with them. It just shows how invested I am in the information that I'm delivering. Not just, you should really care about this and this is going to help you, but like, I care about this so much and I've learned so much about this and I have all these ideas and information. Like I live it. I live it so that it's not just, coaching is good because everyone is doing it and it helps your team, but I can share experiences and I can share cool things that I've learned about it, from what I've learned from other people. I have to live what I'm teaching. And then it also shows your confidence in what you teach.
That's right.
I love that. I mean, it's like we psych ourselves up. It's like Nathan's mantra, going in there with that.
Right.
This is important. They need to know this.
Right.
And every time I go to do a speech, I want to think that this is the most important thing in the world.
Mm-hmm.
Tomorrow, I may not think the same thing because, my mind moves on. But when I go in there, I really need to think about that. I will even listen to things on the way to go give a speech on my topic, podcast and stuff like that to get me up on it. So that's great.
Yeah, otherwise you're just limiting yourself. And you can kind of tell when you just learned it just because, or
Yes.
if you actually really care and believe in what you're teaching.
Right.
Yeah, she knows more than she's saying.
Mhm.
I like that. Excellent one. Thank you, Felicia. Other ones y'all had.
It's tough to follow. Right?
That really is.
I mean,
Drop the mic. Yeah.
Right.
Okay. Anything else you want to share? Anything? Yes,
I'd also
ma'am.
like to say these are practices. You will get better. As long as you keep on trying and to implement them, you will eventually get better. Practice makes perfect.
Yeah. And there's not a single one of us who couldn't get better. That's the thing. If we keep accepting that, we won't be thrown to the ground by the fact that we made a mistake. It won't tear us up. We won't be upset as much. We'll just keep saying, okay, there's another one I learned. I don't want to try that again. Everything is a learning process, and I love that. And we just got to keep getting better and keep having fun with it. I don't want to be the best. I just want to be better than I was yesterday.
and I think the key is definitely just to be honest with yourself. All of these speaking tips here, just being honest and vulnerable and realizing what your areas of enrichment are and just honing in on those and practicing them as much as possible. But you have to be honest with yourself in order for you to become better, a better facilitator or a better
I love
speaker.
I love that. Yes. And some of those apps might help with that.
Definitely so.
We think we're talking at a good rate where everybody can understand it, and sometimes I'm leaving people behind. I'm working on it.
Definitely.
And me, I'm still trying to work on developing that indoor voice. It hasn't happened yet, but I'm trying. So we keep working on the things that we know that we need to get better at.
Mm-hmm.
You folks are awesome. What a great job you've done for us today. I think you've given us really good ideas. Let me check one more time and see who. Ooh, Tamra, what a great line. Passion is contagious.
Yeah.
Awesome. That's a really good one.
That's a good one.
And it's true. You know what? Sometimes I've seen speakers who weren't all that great, but they were so excited about their topic, it went beyond it. It didn't matter.
Mm-hmm.
That's true.
So yeah, that's true. If you're really into it, we love it. Wow, some good stuff here today. Well, let me see here. Okay. Oh yeah, want to remind you those handouts. Go to the talent development page and thank you IT. It's already there, so you'll be able to pull up the handout with all this good stuff we talked about. It also has the links to the places where we got some of the good ones, like the TED Talk coaches and stuff like that. So we got some of those on there, and then also we will have this up on the YouTube page where we have our webinars. So be watching for that. We'll have it come up there. So in case you missed something today, or you're saying, wow, they were so good, I want to listen to it again, we can dream. You'll be able to do that. Or if you have somebody else that you feel like would benefit from this, please send them to the YouTube page to check out some of our broadcasts. Let's see here. Oh, I didn't breathe in. I did Oh, shoot, I'm going to learn how to do that. Okay. Well, we want to thank y'all so much for being a part of this program today. All of our viewers, all of you guys, thank you so much for being a part of it.
Thank you, Christy.
Thank you.
And we look forward to seeing the rest of you, all of y'all back here next time. We're going to be talking about organizing for increased productivity. I think we all need it. I think no matter how good we are, we can get better. And I know I was listening to, what was it? Time Management Ninja is the book that's in my car right now. So I'm getting ready for this one already. I'm getting some ideas. But we'll give you some great tips to help out with that. That'll be coming up in our October issue of Success Series webinars. Annie, we're glad you could be here with us one more time today,
Thanks,
too.
right. Yeah, I'm glad I could be here one more time.
Okay. Thank you so much. Thanks, everybody. And hey, don't forget, keep on learning.
Every day for every citizen.